This video will be covering the fundamentals and essentials of how Python works and how to write your first few lines of code. Settle back, relax, and enjoy part 2 where I'll be teaching you how to code in Python. Okay, now that you have installed Python, let's not waste any time. The first thing you'll see is this main function. Now, we don't really need that, so you can just go ahead and delete it. Then, here on line 3, I want you to just copy what I'm writing. Print, parentheses, quotation marks, hello world, exclamation mark, quotation mark, parentheses. And go ahead and press the green button at the top of the screen. Okay, hello world, down here at the Python terminal. That's it, you're coding now. No, but seriously, let's talk about what we just did. So essentially what we did is we sent an information package to the computer. This information packet is print hello world. We're essentially telling the computer to print the function hello world. The computer then decides to respond with, okay, I can print that for you. This is why we call it a Python programming language, as we're taking a language that we understand and we're writing it into a language that the computer can compile to functions. Okay, now let's bring down what a print function actually is. A function is defined by the two parentheses that is seen around the thing. This right here is called a print function. Basically what we're doing is we're telling the computer to talk to us. What we're taking inside the parentheses is what we call a string. It's classified by the two quotation marks, which can also be written as one quotation mark, which shows that this is some text that we wanted to interpret. So now that we have established what a print function does and how strings work, we can add multiple strings. Like for example, my name is Gabe. And we can add underneath an age number. I am 20 years old. Now if we print this out, we can see how they behave. We can see how they all are written in different lines. This is because this is the way Python works. It goes through the line and look at the third line and says, okay, you want me to print this? I'm printing this in the third line. Then goes down, okay, fourth line, you want me to print this? Okay, I'm printing this in the fourth line. Go down to the fifth line, it's like, okay, you want me to say this? Okay, I say this. So it reads every single line at a time and then prints it out exactly how you want it to write. But what if you want to write it all in one single line, all in the first line? Well, there's a couple of ways to do this. The best way to do this is by adding what we call a multivariable string. It's where we add 3 quotation marks on each side, saying that we want the Python to read this and do exactly what is written inside this. Write it exactly how we write it. So like we can say, okay, well inside this function we say, my name is Gabe. I am 20 years old. Now what Python is going to do is it's only going to print it out like that. What makes this special is that you can add anything inside this function and write it exactly how we wrote it. Let's say we add a lot of spaces, we add some tabs. It's going to write that in the terminal exactly how we wrote it inside our Python function. This is really useful if you want to create formats or you want to create anything that is format based or under web designing. Now another way to do this is to add multiple strings. If you print out the same thing, hello world, you can add a string by pressing the comma button, which means we're adding another variable. In this case, the variable is going to be my name is Gabe. You say I am 20 years old. Now this is going to print it out exactly how we had it before in just one line string, because you're saying first take the hello world, add my name is Gabe onto that, and add I am 20 years old. There's 2 ways of doing this. You can add a comma or you can say plus. I usually recommend doing comma because when you're doing mathematical functions, it sometimes mixes it up with plussing them together, like you can see in the terminal, how it mixed them all up and added them all into one function. So usually I would go for using commas instead. Now why is this useful? This is useful when you have, for example, instead of saying my name is Gabe, you use variables. A variable is where you let something else equal to that, or you have a referring point. Like say my name, you say name equals, saying name is equal to the string Gabe. So now every time you refer to that function name, it tells you that is Gabe. So instead of writing my name is Gabe, you can say my name is, you can say my name is, you have to put the colon, and you can put name. And now it's going to take that my name is and add that to the name function, which is going to print out exactly how we wanted it to be printed out. Now, you can use this in other occasions where you can redefine it. So you can say my name is equal to David. Let's say he changed his name. Now if we print out the same function beneath, you can see how the variable has changed. Instead of changing the whole function, we just changed that variable. So we didn't have to go through the whole thing and change it. We just changed that one name variable to something else, so we didn't have to change this. This could be especially useful when you're creating databases or working any kind of code in Python. So you don't have to change the final result. You just change the small things within them. And now the last thing we need to talk about is comments. Comments is where you add something that you don't want the computer to read. You do this by adding a hashtag, as seen in the video. You can add a hashtag, this is my first code. Then when you run it, nothing changes because the computer is the hashtag tells the computer, do not read this line. This is for me, this is only for me. So when I go through the code, I can see, oh, this is what I was trying to do. It helps others also realize, but it also lets the computer tell, okay, well, this line, let's skip that line, we go to the next line.